Can we look at the 40 by 40, or is it just a waste of time?
I'm not ready to. I'll let you know when I am. I'll let you know whenever I am ready to cross something
But you've
off.
done nothing on that list.
I tried to swim with the dolphins. My wife said no.
What?
Your father's dick has been in me.
Except for my father's dick. Your father's dick. It's on the thing. It counts. I feel like somewhere on there is your father's dick.
Don't laugh, but I have Jim's 40 under 40 in my notes app.
There you go.
Here it is.
It's not weird.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. The wait is over. Whitney and Nick are back.
Yes.
Welcome back, all of the listeners who left for a week.
Oh, I thought we were talking about March Madness
And now,
that I won.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we still gotta do that.
Broadcasting from the churn, that's Jim, that's Whitney, I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
Well, welcome back from your disciplinary leave.
Yeah.
I hope that you both learned your lessons.
We learned nothing.
I hope that this never has to happen again. We can put this ugly business behind us. Whoever the
Just
anonymous Pod Therapy whistleblower who reported the bullying, whoever they are, they're brave. And I'm glad that HR Director Jacob took control of the situation.
I take my position seriously.
He's firm but fair.
My position being sitting.
Yeah. Also not wearing pants as HR Director. So, yeah, if you would like to hear where Nick and Whitney were in the world and hear about their adventure, patreon.com/therapy.
Spoiler alert.
And special thanks to our guest therapist last week. That was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Really great time with Janet, Kellyanne, and Dr. Jared. Really cool backgrounds, different takes. That was really cool.
It was good. They did a good job.
Yeah, not easy to
I'll be
show
honest,
up here
I don't
and
like
wing
people sitting in my chair.
Okay.
It feels
It
different.
has, I've had to move stuff around. It just doesn't feel
Not
right.
allowed.
Yeah,
But they did a good job.
they did.
But you are an enigma. I will never figure you
Wrapped
out,
in a mystery,
Jim,
as they say.
because for 8 years you have been just like, God, I don't want to tell anybody about this podcast.
Yes.
I'm so worried about this podcast. And then I see on Facebook,
My friend texted me a screenshot. I was like, your podcast is on here.
Everybody on the internet, I've got a podcast. Can somebody come on it?
Did you see the name, though?
Yeah. No, I didn't.
I almost posted.
Oh, no. I know that. It's not his name.
I almost posted and then deleted it like 3 times. And then, I finally was sitting there and I was like, dude, I don't like shows that are just 2 people. It's such a long, 90 minutes or whatever to fill in. It's a slog.
Especially
and
with
it's like,
Jacob.
you like to be able to ping off people. Jacob and I have done it and we get it done, but I don't know. It's not the same. It's a lot of lifting. And so I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I want to bring in other people. I just want to have people to ping off of.
Yeah.
And they did great.
They did.
But I tell you what, that was very scary. It is interesting. So one thing that happened when I posted that, I was so scared. I posted it and thought, fuck. I immediately regretted. I went to go delete it, but I was like, no, bitch, you've already deleted it 3 times.
Yeah.
Let it stay for an hour and see what happens and then delete it. And an hour later, this thing had so many likes, so many comments. If you go through the comments of this post, I was shocked at how many therapists in our community were like, fuck yes, I want to do this. This is great.
Now,
I started listening to this and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of positive feedback.
Getting comments on Facebook is not an issue.
Okay.
It's getting positive comments.
Right.
On Facebook.
And they were all
And he
nice.
did it.
And that's what I was dangling on, because if one person had said even the slightest thing, even if it was just
shut up, nerd.
I don't know about this. I don't know if this sounds like a good idea. Maybe this shouldn't exist. Or, I'm looking through these titles of these episodes and I don't know how I feel. I would have immediately panicked and deleted it.
No, not only that, it would have been the end of the show.
Yeah, I would have, called you crying. Been like, hey, you got to bring in another Whitney. I'm out of here. I can't do this anymore. It's all going downhill, man. No, it turned out really, really nice. So, yeah, that was super cool. And, man, I tell you what, we ended up having, probably 10 or 15 therapists reach out directly and say, hey, I have started listening to this. This is great. I love the theory, and I absolutely want to do the show. And so I ended up just picking 3 that had reached out kind of first.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of other therapists in the community, and I got to exchange information with them and learn about their backgrounds, and it was really cool. And also, we're fucking now. I think that's where I was going.
Out there.
That's the most important thing.
All you new therapists out there that listen to this show for the first time, I want to be the first to welcome you.
Yes.
Welcome to Pod Therapy.
There it
I'm
is.
not liking where this is going.
Hello.
I know.
This is what we do.
Very
This is
80s.
what we do. We're welcoming
see a
you
mullet.
aboard. So it's really cool. So thank you to everybody in there that reached out. Welcome to new colleagues that have tuned into the show and are giving it a chance and
Yeah.
have not written me saying anything shitty yet. Please be very gentle with me.
Give it
I am a
time.
delicate flower. I will wilt. I will be destroyed like Whitney's orange blossom.
I feel like we should introduce ourselves, though, for our any new listeners out there. So if you're hearing this voice, this is Jim Jobin talking.
Yeah. I am your friend and colleague, Jim Jobin.
This is
How y'all doing?
if you hear this voice, this is also Jim Jones.
Yeah.
That's right.
And Lady Jim, go ahead.
Hello.
I don't know why you changed your voice.
I like how she went to like Miss Doubtfire. Hello.
That's exactly who I was channeling. I had to make
And
it
I'm
Mrs.
Whitney,
Doubtfire.
Jacob, and Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. All right, so we got some great questions this week, and it's good to have the full team back so we can dig into these things. First one is my stepdaughter, a narcissist. And just as an FYI, this did need to be shortened down, so we've kind of got it distilled into its finer points. But dear Pod Therapy, longtime fan of the show here. I've debated for a while now if I wanted to write to you about this, but after a few conversations with my husband, he encouraged me to do so, as a way to help him put the situation into words too. We're concerned about his youngest daughter, who we'll call Doe, who's 7 years old, especially regarding her motivations and behavior. He shares 50-50 custody with his ex, and co-parenting is generally smooth. However, it's clear Doe is favored by her mother, often at Jane's 11-year-old expense. Jane has started to notice this dynamic and has asked for help managing her sister's behavior.
So just to clarify, because I didn't do a good job of shortening this, Jane is the older daughter, Doe is the younger daughter.
Okay, I was a
They're
little...
both husbands' kids, though.
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
gotcha.
And the younger daughter is being doted upon,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
The
Okay.
question is about the younger 7-year-old.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Both girls have ADHD and are in therapy. While that explains some challenges, we feel something deeper is going on with Doe. I've been in their lives for 3 years, and while I'm not a parental figure, I help with structure and care. This semi-outsider role has helped me spot things my husband couldn't see. From the beginning, I noticed Doe only behaves well when the focus is entirely on her or when she gets her way. Otherwise, she tries to bring everyone down to match her mood. Her behavior raises serious concerns. A few bullet points here. She rushes through chores with little care and often needs reminders to complete basic hygiene. She shows little empathy, lying, being physically and emotionally cruel to her sister, and provoking the dog, then playing the victim. When confronted, she lies easily and rarely shows remorse unless caught. She fakes crying to avoid consequences, something her father used to respond to with comfort until we address the pattern. She avoids accountability, often twisting conversations into perceived attacks to deflect attention. There was also an incident where she shoved a classmate at school and minimized it entirely. Her behavior seems motivated by self-image over genuine understanding of right and wrong. She mimics others' preferences. Once fixated on turtles, she suddenly claimed to love penguins after learning they were special to her dad and me, etc. She doesn't seem to internalize values. She does chores to earn screen time, not to contribute. She apologizes only when prompted. She avoids shame when she avoids hurting others. I don't believe she is evil. She's just a kid. I believe there is a complex web of factors at play here. I don't think this is coming purely from her, but from the way she was and is raised. Now, I'm also starting to consider that this could be a personality disorder. So, what do we do? Thank you in advance, Anonymous.
Ooh.
So, I did copy and paste the entire letter at the very end.
Yeah,
so we
the
have
host
it
can
to
read
reference.
It. Right.
Mhm.
We can-
Which was helpful to
yes.
see some
Okay.
examples.
Good.
Yeah,
So you did already read it.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there is, like, when you read the shortened version of this, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, this sounds like a 7-year-old.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you read the full version of it, it seems like, oh, it's a little bit more extreme than just your
Right.
average 7-year-old. Some things that kind of stick out to me is just, some behaviors like towards the dog and just kind of taunting
That
the
was a
dog,
little rough.
getting
Like
bit by
slapping
the,
the
dog
dog.
because the dog is like, no, don't play with me that way.
Mhm.
And then kind of taking on that victim role of like, oh, the dog just attacked me type thing.
Right.
There's just a lot of just different stuff like that does seem kind of worrisome.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's good to clarify, just because, reading through it initially, I was like, I don't know. And then I really appreciate the writer giving those examples, like very clear examples. But it was a very long letter, you're right.
Yeah. Personality disorders are tricky, right? And so, like, I appreciate the complexity here, and, like, yes, the bullet points, like, of all the different episodes. And the writer gave us a lot of examples of different times that Doe was inappropriate toward Jane. Doe was bothersome toward the dog. Doe was intrusive on the family and like self-aggrandizing and like clearly about herself. I'll tell you that when it comes to personality disorders, we're pretty much forbidden from ever diagnosing them under 18.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that.
You can't have a disordered personality if you haven't fully developed the personality.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So.
And going back to that first point you had said, Nick, yes, this behavior is problematic. It's exaggerated, right? But it is still, there's a Venn diagram here.
Yeah.
And there's a huge overlap of, and 7-year-olds do 70% of this, not as hard, right? Like, they're doing all these same things. Doe is doing them and putting a little bit more pepper in the soup, right?
Doing it more often.
That's it.
Doing more, with more regularity.
There's a little bit more insistence on it, right?
Well, and obviously the writer has seen a pattern.
Right.
Sure.
Like doing it enough, there is a noticeable pattern to it.
And it's interesting, right? Because, like, clearly there's been a disruption in the family, right?
I was going to just start with that baseline of going 50% of the time with one parent and 50% with another. Like, that has to be so hard on kids. And when you're treated a certain way around one parent for a whole week, let's say, I'm guessing it's a whole week. I know some are split up differently, but let's say if it was a week with mom and a week with dad, and you're being doted on for a week, and then there's a shift and you go to dad's, and there's going to be acting out. Like, you see that in foster care when kids are at a foster home and then they go spend a weekend or something, or even a day with a parent that's just like spoiling them because they don't get to see their kid. It's like there's a lot of complex issues going on there, but they come back and they are terrorists to their foster
you lose the structure.
Every time either of the boys that I fostered, whenever they spent time with their birth family and they came back, you just expect, okay, the next 48 hours are going to be a shit show. And you just gotta be prepared for that. You have to not take things personally, you know, and you have to kind of understand, like, they're going through a lot of shit and they don't know how to deal with it.
And those were teenagers.
Exactly. I mean, these boys were 16, 17 years old. So
So I think it's good to point out some of those just family dynamics that we don't really know. The writer didn't really go a lot into, other than saying that the mom really dotes on Doe. Dotes on Doe.
And Doe's the baby, right? Because Jane is 11.
Right.
So you're talking 4th, 5th grade at 11 years old, and Doe is just the little girl. And like, it sounds like parents split. I mean, Ryder's been in Dad's life for 3 years. And so assuming that they, didn't get together right away after the end of the previous relationship, I mean, Doe's parents have been broken up probably since she was like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Right? And she's been doing this back and forth thing. And we do see this. Like, yes, children are resilient. Yes, a lot of kids adapt to like the co-parenting models and the 50-50 splits. And there's a lot of ways that they can thrive. And I think our default assumption is we're going to see some kind of abreaction whenever you're doing a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
The ecosystems, the cultures of the homes, like all the different components of this. And like we've noticed that even in foster care, like just little breaks from the normality and the structure can really like stir that pot, and that kid can come out all sorts of different. So I definitely want to I want to shine a light into those things first, not to be dismissive, Ryder, not to be minimizing.
Because these are concerns. I see why you're concerned.
Yeah, that's fine. Now, your concerns are correct.
Right.
The question is, would a mental health provider look at this and say, something big is wrong with the brain of this person, right? Like, is this a behavioral disorder? Is it a mood disorder? Is it a personality disorder? And again, we don't diagnose on the show. We also don't tell you that there's not a diagnosis. We defer to the therapist that is treating her. But I'll tell you that when it comes to kids in a dysregulated environment, and they're showing abreaction like traits and all sorts of like poor social skills and poor self-regulation, poor emotional regulation. A lot of this, even for a 7-year-old, 7-year-olds are still pretty baby, but like a lot of this sounds regressive, right? Like there's sort of like this egocentric, look at me. And like that is age appropriate. at like 4 and 5, right? And like once you start getting to 7 through 10, we start to see you socializing a little bit more in this deferential way. So there definitely seems to be a regression or like maybe like a failure to mature at like the correct pace. To me, I look at that more as like a stubborn environmental reality. Maybe it's the beginning of something long term that we might see, but that's going to take years to
You would have to wait
notice.
and see that.
Yeah.
The timing of that too, I mean, the numbers that you were just saying, the timing of that too also kind of lines up with the divorce or the parents splitting, whatever
Seems
however that
like
was.
It seems as far as what we've seen.
Right.
Now, there is an area that we do diagnose with children, and that's oppositional defiant disorder, which working in foster care systems, we've all three seen a shitload.
Or adjustment disorder.
Or adjustment disorder, yeah.
Now, the thing that I think really kind of makes it complicated, because the main thing that I kind of read going through all of these examples is the thing that kind of stuck out to me, I think, was the lack of empathy or like understanding how behaviors affect other people. Whereas just kind of like, I did this behavior, it hurt this other person. I know I need to say sorry because I've been trained that that's what you do to end the conflict is you just say sorry. But no real connection to how other people are affected by these behaviors or how the dog is even affected by these behaviors. It's just kind of that disconnect there. That sounds very scary, because then that's kind of when you start thinking about things like kind of antisocial, or
Right.
not antisocial, but for adolescents, it would be oppositional defiant, right?
Right.
Is that the one that
Yeah, I think
proceeds?
ODD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing with this too that kind of makes me feel like, well, maybe it's not quite that serious is just when you factor in this other perspective of she needs to feel like she belongs somewhere, and it seems like she doesn't have that. And so it's hard to become empathetic when you're trying to fit in someplace and be part of something and you're not feeling like you're part of it. Because then you don't have time really to kind of think about how other people are being affected because it's kind of like, well, when's my turn? Like, when do I get what I need?
Right. Yeah, and coming to that point too, ADHD is already diagnosed.
Gonna go there, yeah.
Yeah, ADHD is already diagnosed, and so seeing poor temperament, seeing poor emotional impulsivity, not waiting turn, and a lot of times with ADHD and sometimes with autism too, people will often comment and they'll say phrases that sound like narcissistic, antisocial. What the hell's wrong? Lack of empathy. Is very selfish. Like,
exactly
they only think about themselves. They only do these chores to be noticed or to get things done. They don't understand the shit. And it's like, yeah, like some of that is a neurodivergent like frame of reference. And like those things do come eventually.
Yeah.
But especially at a young age when we're seeing that stuff, there is this deep blindness that they just don't have. They don't have access to that information yet.
I even was talking with a friend recently about their like teenage daughter who we were kind of discussing some potential, personality disorder traits, kind of more on the borderline side. Where I was like, ooh, what do you think that will look like in so many years? But she had brought up with me when she was talking with a clinician that the mom was that there is some new research dabbling in the idea that some of those traits are almost a form of stemming potentially.
Interesting.
So I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm not saying I've looked at all the research, but that came to mind, that reference when I was kind of reading through this. And that was with a teen, not a 7-year-old. But it is interesting and a little bit of like a personal story here. I have a younger brother and he was diagnosed with ADHD, in the 90s, which was super fun for him. Poor kid. But my this is not to out my parents. They don't listen to this anyway. My mom might. But
and they're better for it.
Right. My parents, mainly my dad, would say things like, something's just been wrong with him since he was 2. He was kicked out of daycare for spitting on a kid or kicking them during nap time, some aggressive behaviors. And so he was placed in special ed because they didn't know what to do with him. And he was diagnosed with ADHD. I look back now and the ADHD symptoms were so strong that they presented first. But something I see looking back, he's still in his 30s will toe walk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder if there was other stuff going on there that just didn't get looked at. And when those things aren't addressed, and with this girl that you're writing in about, as a parent, you're in the thick of it. As a step parent, you're in the thick of it. And I feel for you, because it can be scary to watch our children that you see at 7 years old with things that look like lack of empathy. They look like sociopathy. They look like these very scary things like harming animals. We're teetering into that realm. And our mind can go wild, and you're like, I'm the parent. I need to stop that or do something. What will people say about me? How will I sleep at night if they go on and do worse things as an adult? But I think it's very important. We're not, like Jim said, not trying to minimize these behaviors, but just take a step back. And I almost do hear kind of what Nick was saying. The daughter might be just trying to seek connection. She's not doing it in the right way, the helpful way. But I hear that her trying to get like the penguin or whatever because y'all got the penguins. Part of me was like, I could see how you see it. I was like, what the hell? Like, you're just doing what we want, or like manipulative.
Penguins. I like penguins too. It's my favorite thing. Is it though? You're fucking lying. It's like, but she's fucking 7.
I can't think of
that's
when
what
I was
they
a
do.
kid. I can't think of anything I liked because I genuinely liked it. Like,
you're imitating everything.
Older cousins like these things. So like, I like these things.
I thought you were saying you liked your older cousins.
Yeah. Well, he did.
Yeah,
Iowa.
Yeah. Go to the family reunion.
What else are you
pick
gonna
up
do on
date.
those acres?
Yeah, that's right. Between all the landscaping, you had to date somebody. No, but that's a really good point. And like, again, coming back to this idea of like, when you're introduced to a kid and you're like, geez, like this is so off balance. Like, and it's tough because we come in and we just try to apply the normal human standard, right? This is the normal 3 people talking in a room. If I describe this set of factors, it seems off to everybody. Like if you're talking to another adult and you're like, oh, I really like this, I like sushi. And like, oh my God, I love sushi. That's my very favorite thing. And they're like turning it into themselves and they're one-upping your story and shit. You're just kind of like, you're a douche, or like whatever.
This
like, you're
is
a weird person.
I don't know you.
But like I taught like K through 12 for 10 fucking years. This is just what they do. Like this is just the norm, right? Like they just come in and like I'll be talking to them and be like, oh, have you ever heard of Power Rangers? Like, no, I haven't. And I'm like, oh yeah, I grew up with Power Rangers. Is really cool. They do karate. And like, oh my God, I love Power Rangers. You're like, you're lying though.
The lying.
That didn't. You just told me that you don't know. Like, it is ridiculous. Like, but again, it's them trying on lots of different things, trying to seek approval, and then trying to like
getting defensive and worried. Like,
trying to fit in. But then whenever you're also neurospicy, boy, do you lack tact. Like, you're just not graceful in this. And there could also be, and again, I'm not throwing out autism just to throw it out there, but like a lot of times, especially with female autism, it presents very differently. And a lot of people just assume autism looks like that guy from that fucking
Rain
show.
Man,
let's go with that. I was going to say the Bazinga guy. Who's
the Big Bang
Sheldon?
Theory?
Big Bang Theory. Sheldon from Big Bang. Like people think it's like that kind of guy. And like this awkward, like, not making eye contact, staring blankly
Like
into the distance.
But thank you, Whitney, for making a super current reference.
Yeah. Right to those Dustin Hoffman. Got to get that.
I thought that's what everyone
young
thought.
Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise working
Jumping
together.
right
in
there.
the
That's what
80s.
all my clients that are my age, they're like, when we grew up, autism meant
That's what it
something
meant.
totally different.
But like, especially feminine, like autism, it presents very differently. And a lot of times it can be little features like this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think all of us are kind of giving you that feedback, writer, to say we don't love personality disorder as a description here.
I will add that none of us are dismissing what the writers report.
Oh my God.
Everything you're saying is valid.
Because I can definitely see that. Like, the writer's concerned, and I would be too. Like, if I'm in this position, I'm seeing all these things. I agree that the writer is probably observing these correctly and has the right perspective on a lot of this stuff. And it is very scary. It looks, as Whitney said, it looks really scary.
Yeah.
The nice thing is what you've got going for you is she's already involved in therapy.
I like that.
And I think the big question here that the writer's kind of getting at is like, what is our role? What do we do with this? How do I communicate this to what I'm seeing to the therapist?
And it's really tough, right? Because like, and this is one of the reasons I really struggle with pediatrics and I just don't want to do it anymore. It's because like my default setting is very Rogerian, right? And so like when I'm meeting with a kid and I can sense like, okay, this 7-year-old does not. Go ahead.
I was just gonna make a Rogering joke. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. We don't need to though.
Good
No.
I like how he gets himself laughing. It's like, nope.
Nope. That was
Steer
a
away.
bad joke.
The best jokes are the ones not spoken.
That's right. The notes you don't hear.
They know what joke I was going to
They
tell.
know where you're going. But no, like this experience with kids, like a lot of times I lean right into connection, affirmation, relationship,
Yeah.
right? And if I'm sensing, hey, you're 7 years old and you're looking for identity and you're dealing with maybe some self-esteem stuff and you're abreacting, you're dysregulated, I'm focused on things like emotional insight building, praise, affirmation, complimenting, building up self-esteem, so that we're taking that back into the world and not feeling like we need to impose ourselves on other situations.
Yeah.
But that may not be very helpful. Like you might need more of like an ABA kind of approach or something very task oriented.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm very weak on those skills. And so I wonder, like, man, therapy with a 7-year-old can be really tough, especially if they're not a specialist.
Yeah, I think for parenting in the kind of neurodivergence arena, there needs to be a lot of verbal talk about what's going on in your own mind. Because I think as parents, sometimes we're living, or I'm not a parent, but, parents describe to me that they're kind of living in their own world, right? You're very nervous to open up to your kids or open that line of communication. But I have seen some parents see a lot of progress with their kids who have some form of neurodivergence, where they will talk through like what's going on in the situation. So for example, there was an example given about like watching TV in the morning, and she's not supposed to watch TV in the morning, but her immediate reaction, instead of just answering like, hey, what time did you wake up? She said, Dad said I could watch TV.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I was caught off guard. I didn't even ask her that. So that's a moment where I'd sit down and say, oh, that's interesting. You just told me that, Dad said you could watch that. Yeah, I didn't ask that. I actually asked this. You're not in trouble. I was just asking you a question. I would love to talk through that. What are you hungry? Do you need breakfast? Like kind of just jumping into that dialogue of sort of what's going on in your own mind, because it sounds like she's very jittery too about being in trouble. Yeah. And maybe because she gets in trouble a lot.
Gets in trouble, yeah.
Like she does. So it's this weird cycle that's going around.
Which I've seen a lot with ADHD children is because they do, like, part of the way we diagnose ADHD is the disruption you cause your environment. And so by the time we give you a label, you done pissed off everybody, right? Like the other kids in school are upset, like the parents are upset, the teacher's upset, you've been written up a million times. And then you've got a situation where you have divergent households. So you have different structures, different rules, different reporting standards. And then they think their kid is like super dishonest. And they're like, dude, what's up with my sociopath fucking lying kid? And it's like, it's almost like training a dog, though. Like if one of you like slaps the dog every time the dog does this thing, like now it like hides the thing, like it doesn't want you to know it pissed in the house, like it's scared to tell you. And so like there's a lot of factors at play here. But Ryder, as you're thinking about options, like, and again, I'm not saying the child has autism, but I'd be curious what you'd get out of like autistic support groups, like for people that are raising kids that are a little bit on the spectrum. And they may just have feedback, right? And there may be some things there that are relatable and some feedback that you could get from them. Organizations you might want to look into. Autism Speaks is, I think, the national standard, really, really useful. Another one is CHADD, C-H-A-D-D, Children and Adults with Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And another one is AANE, Asperger and Autism Network. So these are all like places where you could just dial into, I think, other support, parents that are dealing with children that are, growing up with some of these traits. And again, some of this she may just grow out of. Some of this may be situational.
Right.
I do think 7 years old is a little too young for us to zoom in and say this is a permanent problem.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, as Nick said.
Definitely be aware.
To notice these things and to say, look, guys, this is on my radar. I'm concerned about this. The dad and I both notice these patterns. And like, we're not making this shit up. Right. We're trying to be responsive, but we also know that we're not just going to like beat it out of the kid, right? Like, you're not just going to discipline this out of a child. And especially with ADHD, one of the things that really frustrates parents is especially if they have an old school mentality, it's this thing of like, okay, that's enough. I take it fucking personally. I think you're a liar. I think you're inappropriate. I think that you're disobedient. And you know what? Your dad fucking entitles you, and he's poo-pooing all this stuff, and he's treating you with kid gloves because of the divorce, and he feels guilty, and he doesn't want 50% of his time to be riddled with discipline, and mom's not going to keep up with it. And then, like, as the step-parent, you get sick of this shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's enough. I'm going to fucking bring the house down. We're going to have real discipline. We're going to have real structure. And you feel like that's the only way to do it. But it's frustrating because it's like trying to catch smoke. It's just going to slip right through your fingers no matter what you do.
I'd try real hard, Ryder, to not
don't
try.
You
don't want to become the disciplinarian.
That's not the move.
Yeah.
Especially the step parent.
And no one, including you, no one is going to be happy if you become the disciplinarian in the house.
Or if you twist dad's arm and try to create a whole new thing that's not really authentically him. And now we're constantly fighting in our relationship, and we're saying, like, you've got to stand up to these kids.
Right.
No, Doe's ripping this family apart. And it's like, whoa, we've got to start working on us. And so if you're not already working on you, doing a place where you're, digesting this stuff, thinking it through, processing it, I would really encourage you to find that for yourself as well.
2 things I would recommend. Number 1, work with the therapist and treat this as a team.
Yes.
It's a treatment.
Absolutely.
It's a treatment team, right? And everybody needs to be on the same page. Kind of, again, going back to the example of, training a dog. This is one thing I learned very early with puppies is the puppy is trained by the least restrictive parents.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like
they will fall to the lowest standard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like you all got to be on the same team.
Yeah.
And you have to be setting the same tone. And your therapist can be the quarterback in that situation.
I like that.
Express your concern and ask the therapist, like, what are the things I should be worried about?
Right.
Like, okay, this isn't rising right now to the fear level that I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
What should I look for that would tell me, like, okay, now it's a problem? That's number 1. Number 2, when, as far as parenting goes, when you're confronting the child about the behavior, make sure that it stays about the behavior and not about identity.
Yeah.
So as an example, if we're talking about lying, be very careful not to say you are a liar, but focus on the behavior of lying.
Right.
Because you don't want the child learning that they are a problem.
Right.
You want them to understand
because that's a Greek harp.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want them to understand that their behavior is problematic.
I like that.
Not them, their behavior is.
Yeah. And if you can focus on that behavioral intervention approach, that's where you're going to get the most ground with ADHD.
And talking through that, why we don't.
Because you're not going to repair the quote unquote
Mm-hmm.
dysfunction or like the thing that seems to be missing. And you're like, why does this person not fucking get it?
Yeah.
They're not going to. Their brain works different than yours.
Yeah.
So the only thing we can do is train
more.
away behaviors, right? And like that's going to be a slow, methodical.
Some dogs learn better
process.
than others.
Yep. Anyway,
And I'm really glad that Nick actually said that because I agree with Nick and would also like to compare your stepchild to a dog.
Yes.
And training it as such. That is me, Jim Jobin.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is.
And I, Jim Jobin, do feel that having a child is like having a dog.
Yeah.
Again, welcome to all of my colleagues that are listening for the first
there
time.
You go. Yeah.
I, Jim Jobin,
This is perfect.
I'm thrilled to have you.
Love it. Love all of it. And I, not Jim.
Jim, is that whiskey or something?
Are you funneling whiskey?
Yes, I am, Jim.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back,
Lady Jim.
we're discussing self-esteem. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Jake Schneider, Malia, Richard Macy, Sonny Boy, Thunder Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Slurpee Kaye, Motherfucker, Sander McWaffle, Elena, and Sam Cohn. And if you would like to sponsor the show, I think you should, and I think everybody agrees with me. Head on over to patreon.com/therapy and sign up to become a Theraproducer.
You should do it now.
Do it now.
Do it. Do it
Okay.
now.
Our trivia this week, because I had some time to kill.
Is what's on the back of this card?
Yeah, right. What's on the back of this card? Who can read the fine print?
I'm fine.
New York City trivia.
Woo!
Here we go. Fresh on my mind. We're gonna go.
Concrete jungle, wet dream, tomato.
We're gonna go in order. Let's just start at Jacob, and then we'll just go clockwise right
Okay.
there. Okay. 2 points on the fly.
Okay.
Okay.
1 point multiple choice. Which is the only borough in New York City that is located on the mainland of the United States?
Oh, that would be
Jenny from the block.
Nice.
It's gotta be.
I'm still.
Don't give it away.
Yeah, is it the Bronx? I'm gonna say the Bronx.
It is correct.
Yeah.
2 points,
I wasn't
Jacob.
too far off with Jenny.
You got that.
All right. Whitney.
Yes.
Which New York City building was the tallest in the world when it was completed in 1930, but held the title for only 11 months?
Oh, wow.
The Empire State Building?
Final answer?
Yes.
No.
Pass
Steel.
it. Pass. Let me get that
Oh.
steel. Yeah,
No,
I don't know even one other building in New York.
Oh, good use of a steal.
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and pass that right
Hold on, I
past.
didn't get a chance. I get to take a guess.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll take the New York Metropolitan Building.
Okay. Good use.
guess.
Wow.
I'm going to take away a point.
Is that the Flatiron Building?
Oh.
No.
Oh, okay.
That was one of the multiple
All right,
choice.
do I get options?
Okay, give her
then?
options.
All right.
Give 'em-
Yeah.
Give me
Okay.
options. I get a second chance.
The Chrysler Building, the Empire State Building,
All
the
right.
Flatiron Building,
Pick that one.
or Rockefeller Center.
It might be the Flatiron Building.
think it's a
I think it's
Flatiron
the
building.
first one.
Yeah, no, I think she's right. Go with that. She says
The
Chrysler.
Chrysler Building.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Okay, I'll give you half
Yes,
a point.
I got half a
Yeah.
point.
After it goes around the
Bitches.
whole room.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get a full point
Yeah,
if it
that's
goes
fair.
back.
I already
That's
got
fair.
That's just not. All right,
Jim
Jim.
has negative.
Yeah,
I don't know when any of
went
those
down.
buildings were built.
Jesus.
Yeah, because they were being built at the same time, the Chrysler Building and the Empire State. And then they
Right.
finished the Chrysler Building, and then the Empire State
that
added,
makes sense.
they added a
They
little
added
bit
the antenna.
extra.
What
yeah.
a dick move.
Because
the spire.
The
That shouldn't
spire
count.
on the top of the Empire State Building was a blimp dock.
Yeah.
oh.
There are great old pictures of the Empire State Building with blimps docked at the top.
Oh
Gosh,
my
okay.
gosh.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So they made it extra tall so they could do that little trick.
Blimpy.
Because that was before the Hindenburg. Because
Right.
that
Oh,
was supposed
wow.
to, the airships was going to be the
Right.
travel of the future.
Oh my gosh.
I'll leave it to the Nazis.
Yeah.
All right. Jacob, Jim.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jim.
No, I'm Jim.
So close.
I'm
Jim.
Jim.
Well,
What's
no,
your
that's
face?
Jim.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Jesus.
That's right. Okay. What is Lady Liberty's full official name?
Oh.
Oh my god.
Ooh, boy. Oh, Jesus. I used to know
Samantha.
this. Yeah. Well, she's French, so.
Les Samantha.
Derriere.
Samantha. Just say
Oh,
it.
my gosh. It's okay. Oh, boy. Shit. I used to know this.
Really?
Yeah, because I taught a history class, and
okay.
so it was one of those random facts. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
huh.
Got it.
And I held on to that
And
for a
now
really
you're
long
pissed.
time. Yeah.
That's happened in here to me so
I'll
many
take.
times.
Let
I
me
go
get
home
options.
and I'm
Let me
like,
get options. I'll get it with
Options.
options.
Okay. So we're hoping to get up to 0 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
All right.
take myself out of this hole.
A. Liberty leading the people. B. Liberty enlightening the world. C. Liberty manifesting democracy.
Oh.
Or D. Liberty embracing her people.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. None of those sounds.
Lady
right.
Liberty, isn't it? I'm just kidding.
What was the second one?
Jesus, okay.
Liberty enlightening the world.
Oh fuck! Give me that one.
No.
Yes.
Whoa, out of the hole.
All right.
Level ground.
Level ground.
Right.
Good job.
Back
Oh my
to
gosh!
zero.
Listening to the trivia with the guest
The guest,
therapist on,
yeah.
the Circa answer for the sports book was driving me crazy. I was
Oh,
listening
yeah.
through the episode. I was like, "It's Circa!"
You're screaming into
I
the
did
mic.
put in the Discord.
I saw.
I did declare
Yeah.
shenanigans because the
Yeah.
second set of questions I
Yeah.
am convinced was not correct.
Oh.
Wait, did you both
Yes.
listen to the episode?
Yes,
Yes.
I had to
you're
hear how
insane.
guests.
You should be writing letters into this show.
No, well, I have done that before.
I like that you
already
got to
told y'all
have the
that.
experience of shouting into the mic
Yes.
or into
Yeah.
your phone.
Like, I did.
Fucking idiot!
Yeah.
It's the A team, you son of a bitch!
Thank you for everybody on the Discord who immediately
Yeah.
jumped into the channel. It was like, it's 18.
Well,
Like that was still happening like a day and 2 days into
I know.
it. Like, people
I
are
was
still
like, oh, I
hey,
didn't know that.
People jump in and be like, hey, did anybody tell Jim it's A-Team yet?
yeah. BT Dubs.
I just got here. I just want to make sure somebody did that. Yes, they did. All right, next question is on self-esteem. Hi, y'all. I've been struggling with low self-esteem and wondered if you guys had any tips on how to build self-esteem or confidence. For every good thing I think about myself, I find 5 more to criticize about myself. I try and treat myself like I would a friend or family member, but somehow I just can't convince myself. end up spiraling a bit and feeling like, why try when I'll always be a fat, ugly, dumbass loser?
Aww.
This can be hard to talk about because I find people think I need them to reassure me, and it can come off like I'm just attention seeking or fishing for compliments. I'm not. I just have this inner voice that kind of hates me. What's that about? Anyways, any advice is awesome. Sincerely, Troubled Tammy. P.S. Best advice gets a bonus point. Jacob, you can judge, and yeah, you can just give that point to yourself.
Good, because I've got a good point.
Yeah.
He said you deserve it,
buddy. Yikes. Troubled Tammy. That is a tough one. That inner voice
Jim's
is
an
rough.
expert. He has the highest self-esteem.
That's true.
Right. That's right.
How do you do it, Jim?
Yeah. Impenetrable.
Talking about
I
deleting
remember when
Facebook.
Jacob met my mom, that was the only question he had. Is he like, so what the fuck's up with that? And I was like, what? My mom's like, oh yeah, no, I get that a lot. I'm like, what? I think Jacob's exact question was, what's up with all the undeserved confidence? My mom was like, yeah, no, that's always been the case.
She just knew.
Yeah,
There was zero question.
Yeah, blew my mind is like she could have finished his question. I was like, what the fuck is
there was
going on?
no
like,
follow-up
yes.
question whatsoever.
No pause. She's like,
And she had an answer prepared.
Yeah, immediately. Yeah, I've heard this several times in my life.
Oh my gosh, man!
Yeah, Jim was very upset.
Yeah, did not know.
Yeah. He had no idea.
Yeah, it's like if it was like, so what's up with the giant mole on his forehead? And she's like, oh, that. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I have a mole.
I have a mole.
Well, I already knew that your mom and Jacob were connected
Right.
spiritually.
Spiritually,
That's
right. Yeah.
yeah,
That was
sensually.
a given.
Yeah.
So it
Two
makes
bodies,
sense.
one spirit.
Yeah, as they like to say.
Oh my gosh!
That's what we chant as we're
Yeah,
walking down
there
the
it
holy
is. There
hands.
it is. There
Two
it
bodies,
is.
one spirit.
Yeah, there it is.
We skip down the hall, holding hands.
Yeah.
Two bodies, one spirit. Two bodies, one spirit. We're adorable.
They always get twinsy Halloween costumes.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh!
Ketchup
That's
and mustard.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Aw.
Last year she was a bat and I was just an insect trying to get away, but I couldn't. I couldn't get away.
I can't.
She got
help it. Self-confidence and that negative self-talk
know,
that
that's
can
rough,
that can
man.
really dig in there.
Well, you're already doing it with your friends.
Yeah.
You say you don't hold this judgment over your friends. You're only holding this judgment over yourself.
Right.
You're holding yourself to a different criteria than you're holding everybody else to, which
Yeah.
means that you are holding yourself to a different criteria than anyone is holding you to.
Right.
Because they are looking at you with the same eyes that you're looking at them with, which are non-judgmental eyes. These are your friends and people that you like and that like you. They're not worried about this. They like you. They like you like as you are right now. That's how they like you.
Yeah.
They want you to be happy, but I mean that's really it.
And it's tough too, because like Ryder says, yeah, you know, like I catch myself kind of being so negative and self-critical, and then that sends a signal to people that love me that I need them to boost me, right? I need a pep talk. I need you to tell me I'm okay. And Ryder's saying like, but I don't want to send that signal. Like that's not what I'm looking for. And now I feel bad again because now I feel like I'm coming off as like this attention craving person and I'm needy and it just doubles down over and over and over again. That's such a tough cycle to break.
And I mean, everybody has things.
Yeah.
Well, 3 out of the 4 people in this room have things about themselves they don't like.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's also Whitney.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. I think all 4 of us have things we don't like about Whitney. I keep this list handy if we're going into this.
I'm gonna need this for my negative self-talk later.
Here, you're gonna need this tissue box. Just hold that.
But like we all have things about ourselves that we don't like or
Sure.
that we're sensitive about, you know, and I for me that like I've
What's
got
yours,
that
Nick?
list. I have a list. I
His
can tell you
ass,
exactly
his ass
what
is
it
too juicy.
Yeah, it's such a
Too
juicy
ripped.
ass.
There's
Yep.
a thing as being too sexy.
That's right. It's
My
impressively
milkshake brings
sexy.
all the
Yeah.
boys to the yard, and then I have to ask all these boys to leave my yard.
So many
Exactly.
boys in the
Yeah.
yard.
Yeah.
It's not landscaped. I don't have a landscaper.
Leave. Leave by 9.
But there's things that
Jim.
I've just kind of learned to like, okay, well, this is just me.
Right.
And this is what
Yeah.
that's just that this is how it's going to be.
There's an
you know?
acceptance.
Yeah. And like, physical characteristics, my hairline. I hate my hairline. I do not like it.
Okay.
I've lost so much hair up here, and like
Nick
and
is
You go to
gesturing to his
Turkey.
forehead.
I am.
He's gesturing to his pubes, actually.
Yeah.
He's right into his hips.
Yeah.
He's
pointing
gesturing at
down.
his lower stomach.
Yeah.
It's not so much where I've lost hair; it's where
Right.
it's now growing.
Right,
That's
right,
really
right. Yeah,
shocking.
it's not about the losing. It's weird
Now
showing
Nick is
up.
gesturing to the tops of his feet.
Yeah.
I have hobbit
Like
feet.
a hobbit.
I thought those were socks. Those are not wool socks. Jesus
Nick
Christ.
doesn't have a landscaper because he lives in a hobbit hole.
The side of a mountain.
But like, it's things like that are just like, okay, well, that's just me, and this is what I got to work with,
Yeah.
and I'm going to make the best of the situation, and I'm not going to try to change it because
Right.
it's just like, well, okay, I'm going to go with this,
Yeah.
And everybody, even people that we think of as like, oh man, they've got everything going for them. They don't.
Right. There's
What
something
they've
they're bothered
what they've
by.
really done is they've learned to accept the things that they can't change and make the best of the situation and let it not bother them.
That's
But I
true.
guarantee everybody has something that they don't like about themselves.
Yeah.
Now, there's also other things that I don't really like about myself that I can continue to work on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not saying radical acceptance to
Exactly.
the point that
No,
I don't evolve.
No, there's
Yeah.
there's still evolution. There's still human growth. This past weekend, I'll tie this back to golf. Do something
Oh.
I never do.
Oh, good.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I golfed this past weekend and
Did
I
you?
played like absolute shit.
Glory.
here we go.
Okay.
Oh.
So after
Are you
about
quitting again?
no
No one tapped you and was
No.
like, you have to play the Masters right now.
Yeah.
Here's my human progress
Okay.
here. Okay. After about 8 holes, I was like, okay,
Fuck it.
there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to work on my golf game today. I've got 10 holes left. I'm not going to work on my golf game. I'm just going to work on my attitude.
Okay.
And that's it.
Oh.
And I just like,
Nice
okay, I'm
pivot.
just going to, golf is going to be what it's going to be.
It's like
and
rejection
I'm
therapy,
going to,
but with golf.
I'm
And from
going
that
to
point
just
on, he
work on
lost 2 balls a hole.
Yes.
Wow.
And I
Lot
went
of
home and I
balls.
kicked the shit out of my dogs.
Yeah, of course you did.
I'm kidding. I did
and
not
the
do that.
7-year-old
I
foster
love
child.
my-
I was
I
like,
love
back
my
to
dogs.
the
Yeah.
first
I
question.
absolutely. Oh, my dogs! I had to pick them up from the vet because I boarded them.
Yeah.
And Layla's she lost her voice. It's like
Oh, from
Oh,
it's
yeah.
hoarse because she was barking
Our
so
cat
much.
Yeah.
sounds like
It's-
that after we
Oh.
get home. It's like, how much
So-
were you meowing while
It's
we were gone?
heartbreaking.
I know.
Right.
It's so terrible.
That's why I can't have cameras in my house. Like, people like, I love
Yeah.
watching my
Oh,
pets when
no.
I'm out of town. I'm like, no, I
I
just feel
can't.
bad the whole time.
Holy
I'm like,
shit. Y'all's pets are in bad shape.
yeah, they're very
That's rough.
codependent from
Yeah.
working at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're used to you
exactly.
being
They're
there
used
all
to
the
you.
time,
Ah,
all
yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So, I mean, like for me, when I think about things I'm insecure about, this last week I went to the UNLV College of Education golf tournament and I won.
You played a game of
And
golf.
so-
Did not.
I did.
You
It
played
was
a
at
round of
Pop
golf?
Stroke. Yeah.
I was
So
going
it's
to ask if
miniature
Pop
golf.
Hold on. I was going to
That's
ask
not
if
golf.
All right, whatever.
I was
But,
going to ask if Pop
I'm a
Stroke
winner.
counted because that was on the list.
No,
The 40
we talked about that.
God damn it.
Nah.
I fucking won. I got a trophy.
See, I didn't listen to
I
the Patreon.
crushed that
Nah.
shit.
Yeah.
It needs to count for something. So, yeah, I mean, I think about that. and I
Is
just think,
participation trophy on the list somewhere?
I'm so
No, it should
insecure
be.
about winning all the fucking time. I mean, it's just, God, this golf thing is so easy. I guess it's for some people, right? Me,
Yeah.
John Daly.
I haven't
you
been
know,
to Pop
who is my
Stroke.
spirit animal?
John Daly.
That's
Good
an interesting
reference.
one.
Yes. Is that
You
the
know
guy?
who-
Is that the
Yeah.
golfer
You know who
that's
I
like a
like-
cigar smoker
Yes.
and he's
Yeah,
drunk
yeah,
all the
yeah.
time?
Yeah, yeah.
I like that guy.
Parachute pants.
He loves the movie Rain Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are all good choices.
Why does he
Yeah.
love it?
I don't know. But no, this is
an
what's
equally
tough
good
about
reference.
this is that the writer's saying, like, I try to affirm myself, right? But then I think of 5 things that are not good. And this is, I think a lot of people relate to this because you think that one of the cures for low self-esteem is to really meditate on like your positive qualities. But honestly, a lot of times that doesn't do anything. There is this paradoxical like effect where by thinking of the one thing you like about yourself, it stands out because there's 10 things about you that suck, or that you're unsatisfied with. And so it's like, oh, well, at least this is nice, all these other things notwithstanding. And so like I think that your eyes always do fall upon that. So I really do like that advice of it's okay to take a reference check, to audit oneself, to say these are things that I'm unsatisfied with, I don't like about myself, and I accept this. But I think one thing that can be really tough too, the writer talks about their weight, and they put it into a pejorative sense, but they were saying, yes, that's part of that here. And I know that is a really tough, struggle because like when you're dealing with that, it is technically something you can change. You are aware that you can change it, but it is something that is so laborious to change. It requires such emotional effort, physical effort, discomfort, longevity, consistency. It's hard as fuck.
Losing weight, like
God
significant
damn.
amount of weight, has got to be one of the hardest things a human being can do.
It is an emotional fucking endurance test.
Yeah.
And
That's
like
so
there's
true.
all these days that you'll look at yourself in the mirror and you'll see this and you're so disappointed, you're so unhappy, and then but then there's this sense of like, but to climb this giant fucking mountain to solve this problem, this is why people get really motivated for like a day or two because it's so painful, right? And they're motivated by so much like negativity, and they like put their hands on that proverbial mountain and start clawing at it, and they get, a little bit up and they're starting to make some progress. But it is daunting because if you've even climbed, you bare knuckle this bitch for 100 feet and you're like, holy shit. And people around you are like, wow, 100 feet bare knuckle. That's so impressive. It's still fucking Mount Everest.
And there's one guy like 600 feet ahead of you who's like, no, the first 300 feet are the bad ones.
Yeah. You'll get there.
Yeah.
And then you see these other people and they're like, no, this is all I do with my life. I just climb Mount Everest. I'm fucking awesome at it. Yeah. You'll learn to love it. And like with every handful of rock, you're like, no, this still fucking sucks. And it's just getting colder as I go up. And like, it's a daunting, terrible journey. And so like whenever you're going through it, it is really, really difficult. And there's so many days you look at yourself and you're just like, I feel like a dumb fat fuck. I'm really sad about this. I can't make it better. I'm never going to look at myself in the mirror and feel like this deep sense of personal acceptance. And that's where I think I'm bringing this up because I want to, find the limits of the idea, right? Because like, yes, acceptance works. There's definitely, I think that is the best intervention in many ways. And yet I also appreciate there are times when it's like, acceptance isn't going to ever be my solution because I'm never going to look at this and say, this is great. I accept me. I love me. Or here's a deficit. It'll never get better because it's daunting, because it's difficult, and I'll never expect better. It is just a lifelong struggle, man. And it's like, I wish there was a cure for that. Like, besides like taking the hard route of climbing the mountain or whatever, there's not like this instant cure or this different way of thinking where you can just like lobotomize yourself. And it's tough because you can still improve. You can find all these other things about yourself that you like. And a lot of people that are unhappy with their appearance do find other areas that they try to stand out, or they try to like find these unique social skills or this unique backstory, or find their people and like fall in with a group that, feels like they would be very accepting of them. And Ryder says they have really great friends too. So like, it's just such a daunting thing. And I guess I just wanted to zoom on that and just like appreciate out loud that like, man, that lifelong struggle you can have with self-esteem, especially with your appearance, sometimes is not like, yes, it's solvable in the sense that like, so is fucking dark matter and dark energy. Like, yeah, no, we'll fucking get it one day, but it ain't gonna be soon. And like, you're probably not gonna see it change in your lifetime. And like,
I'm glad you brought up an example
difficult.
that you really know about.
Yeah. I like to go straight to physics.
Bring stuff up that you're really
no
solid on.
Yeah.
No one knows about that.
We'll solve gravity at some point, and you'll lose all this weight. And I get that. I appreciate how daunting that is.
Well, something you brought up that I think is important to sort of highlight or piggyback off of what you were saying, Jim, is that I think when I work with clients who are in this space, there's two things. One, they think that there is an end, kind of like you said. You're like, oh, it's just this trudging, daunting journey. But I want to kind of reframe that. It is just a journey.
Right,
there's not an end. You're not going to stay that exact same like weight by the pound, Nick, like that you've been working toward. There will be fluctuations based on mental health, what's going on around you, like all these things. So I think it's important to reframe that. In our minds, we think of whether it is our weight or like how we are as people, or like sticking with a consistent like routine, whatever it is we're talking about and beating ourselves up about. We think, oh, there's like an end goal, like I'll just do that every day, and it's like that's not really how it works. You're going to go on vacation and not, like sleep in sometime, or you're not going to do that every single day of your life. There's not an end goal like this is me. I wake up every day, or I work out.
You're not going to remember to take the kid out of the car every time you go into the store.
Right. Seriously, you can't expect me to remember that.
You're distracted.
Especially in the summer. I'm trying to get in.
Right. It's really, you're sweating. Your hands are slipping off the doorknob. I mean, that's tough.
I know. So that's I think one part of that. I already forgot the other thing I was gonna say, so that's fine. But but I did want to say
the important part.
It was. I did want to say too, though, that I think that when we're in that space, because I mean, I've been there. I've had moments where it's just like you're just beating yourself up about anything. It could be self-image. It could be that I missed a flight not long ago. I had the leave time and the arrival time because of the time zone changes. You know, it's weird when you're going from Central. I had them mixed up, so I thought my arrival time was my leave time anyway. I showed up at the airport like 10 minutes before.
Shit.
Yeah. I didn't realize it until I was pulling in. My dad was dropping me off. We're chatting, and
you were like, oh no.
I was like, fuck.
What have I done?
Yeah, there's a lot more to it. But anyway, so I missed my flight, and I just have a breakdown at the airport, and I'm by myself. So I was like, I'm an idiot. Why didn't I look at the thing? You know, I'm just like really going at it because in that moment, it felt good to beat the shit out of myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
I had that exact
cathartic.
same moment. Like,
You were beating the shit out of Whitney?
yeah. I was
And
like,
it felt
He was
good.
really
Did it feel
yelling at
good?
me.
she's so fucking stupid.
I know, she's so punchable,
And then I
right?
felt
She's
turned
hot.
on, and I
Something
didn't know
about her.
why.
No, but this,
And then the people
What
from
the fuck
Spirit
was it?
Airlines came over. They called Whitney stupid.
I was at Frontier, so it didn't make it better.
no, but something happened to me like
I
within the
deserve
past
to fly on this airline. I'm such a piece of shit.
within the past 2 weeks where I had a moment just like that, and I can't remember what it was, but I remember just being like, Nick, you fucking idiot.
Right.
Oh, I do this
Yep.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
I
call
do
Nick
this-
a fucking idiot?
Okay, we all have these.
Oh no!
conversations.
My go-to saying is it's hard to get through life when you're as dumb as me.
Really? Jacob?
Like all the time.
Well, mine's more what Nick said. You fucking idiot.
I just fully accept it.
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm dumb, and I'm just gonna walk through life being dumb.
Well, there is
Yeah.
no limit to the amount of self-disappointment I think we as
No.
humans can
Yeah.
have, right? Like,
Right.
and you bump into it every day, whether it's something that feels stubborn and unchangeable, or whether it's a mistake because of an oversight or a social faux pas. God, I've had those a million times.
Oh,
where
and
like
replay those.
the whole drive home, you're like,
I think
I'm
Jacob
a
can
horrible
think of like
person.
3
Why
of
did I
those
do
for you
that?
right now.
Right. You know, and like you're just haunted by it. And so like, God, self-esteem is really such a brittle thing. It is so flexible. It is constantly being shattered, and you're trying to piece it back together again.
Yeah.
And I wish I mean, like, because all the conventional wisdom is things like, yes, draw up a list of affirmations, try to right size the negatives.
See, I
try
don't like
to
that
not
though.
obscure
I
that.
really don't like that.
Yeah.
I like acceptance.
Yeah, the acceptance is good. Like, oh, I'm just a human. I missed my
Yeah,
flight.
I'm just
Like,
normalizing life
yes.
and accepting it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what I would tell. Like,
Because I can
writer-
list off good qualities, but those good
Right.
qualities don't help me in that moment.
No, you're
Right.
you're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Then. I was going to say something that can help me, not when I'm in that deep space that I just described, but more
Writing
like
things
when
down on a calendar that has times on it. That'd probably help.
No, it really, you'd be surprised it doesn't.
Yeah, very weird.
A lot of
Weird.
times it does
Why didn't it
not.
auto add to my calendar like my flight this weekend's going to do?
Yeah, right.
It tells me when to show up.
Frontier.
Yeah.
That one's Frontier.
Frontier
That
doesn't
one is also
auto-populate.
Frontier.
Frontier
Like,
had
that one
figured
is
out the app.
Frontier. But I was gonna say is that maybe not like right sizing all the things Jim's saying, but more like a lighter level of that where I'm just like, okay, well, I did one okay thing today. It's kind of like. You know, yeah, you're not amazing.
Celebrating.
I'm not like, oh,
Yeah.
you're amazing. You're great, Whitney. You're so smart. Like, it's not going to be that. It's going to be like, well, at least I did this one time. I made myself breakfast today.
Right.
Like, what? I don't know. That one's
And the at
simple,
least thing can be like, hey, I got a day to myself.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything accomplished, but man, I feel good at the end of this day.
Exactly.
Right.
How do I feel? Like, let me check in with just one small thing
Yeah.
that I can just be like, okay, it's kind of in line with acceptance.
Right.
Like, I didn't get the thing done. I didn't. Like,
Okay.
And also, I guess that was okay because, you know, I got that day of rest or whatever.
Right.
So I think trying to just find something smaller that doesn't have to be a huge feat, but you still accomplished something.
There is a small
It's helpful.
victories component to this,
Yeah.
but also I like how you talked about the importance of normalizing and reframing what's gone wrong. And like I have to do that all the time. Like, and it's tough because I think we are all constantly at this inner war, like tipping on the precipice of completely collapsing into self-doubt and giving up, right? And like we're constantly teetering on that razor's edge. And what gives us that balance is that constant negotiation in our mind of saying, hold on, it's not as bad as you think. It'll be okay. Like you're still working on it. You're not done yet. That not done yet thing is what I think has gotten me through a lot of my life challenges. Like, I've gone through a weight loss journey. That's been a very, very, very difficult thing. It is a very emotional thing. It's very taxing. And
your
you're
list
constantly
says
unhappy.
you have to hit your BMI. Did you do that yet?
Still working on it. Thanks, bitch.
Yeah. Let me know. Just here to remind you.
Just make sure we get that update on the record as well. Not there, right? Okay, back to the self-esteem talk.
Just had to check in.
But no, it's tough, and like it's you're every day you're unsatisfied. I mean, even whenever you're counting your progress and you're like, yay, I've done a thing, or look at all this thing I've done, you're still unhappy, right? No matter what. And it's kind of like that old like myth of the millionaire, or sort of like, you ask the millionaire, how much money do you need to be happy? And like $1 more. Like it's never enough. Like once they hit a certain level, they're like, okay, well now it's 2 yachts, or now it's like, well, I want to be a billionaire, or how do I leverage this? And it's like, there's going to be this perpetual seeking behavior.
That's what I do with my million.
And this, exactly. I mean, I remember my first million, right?
Yeah.
Like now, I'm like, I want $1 million really bad. It's like, so bad.
Yeah.
Send it in. Patreon.com/therapy. But yeah, like it's just, I think that there is this inherent constant need. And like this kind of goes back to your point, Nick, and maybe the full circle, this thing back to acceptance. I got really into like a deep dive into Buddhism. I think about like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Like I was going through a really dark spot in my life. And like I really started just trying to understand those teachings a little bit better. And like the core of like this idea of how all suffering is sort of attached to desire, right? Like that fundamentally the empty cup is aware, right? And like hates that it's empty, and it longs to have more. And so this desire to like get things in your life or what you lack causes that sense of suffering. And then here Siddhartha is sort of teaching us like, it isn't about accumulating the things, or it isn't about accomplishing the thing. You'll never fill it. Like that it's the desire itself, the vacuum. You have to stare into that and confront that. And I think he sort of has this approach that like there isn't a light switch solution to that either. Like that is an ongoing forever struggle. And then there's sort of this replacement theory of like this eightfold path of like, so then try to do this, like right action, right words, right behavior, right thinking, like do these good proactive things and think less about what you lack, and just kind of like try to do good things every day. And so like that was a thing, writer, that I've come back to that's really gotten me through, is like a lot of like mantras that I steal from AA, things like do the next right thing, or like one day it'll get better. Today might not be that day.
And that is, I think, I always take kind of a similar approach working with people in fitness. Is like, you have to understand that like, you're not trying to win every battle.
Right.
You're trying to win the war, but it's ongoing forever.
Right.
It's just like, okay, yeah, I didn't go last week. I missed an entire week of going to the gym. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter right now. What matters right now is, what are you going to do right now?
Right.
Like right now is the most important piece. You don't have to worry about what you're going to do tomorrow, and you don't have to stress about what you did or didn't do the day before. What can you do right now to make your life just a little bit better 1 hour from now than where it was before? And it's just this constant motion of kind of just pushing a sled. You're just constantly pushing it, and there's going to be times it's going to slide back and it's going to go forward.
Right.
But it's really just about the small steps over a long period of time.
Right. It's about developing a lifestyle more than just trying to get first downs or like measuring to an end zone. It's like the goal is not to win this game or to win this drive or to score. The goal is to play football.
Right.
Just play a lot of football forever. Enjoy this sport. Enjoy it and be better at it every day, and really just give yourself to
and
it.
I do like, Tammy, that you've got a team around you that's supporting you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do this by yourself.
But, if you have to, it's okay. You just got to believe in yourself, which is the thing.
That's what the
Tammy
Buddha
lacks.
says.
That's what the Buddha says.
Yeah.
All right.
Hang in there, baby.
Jacob, so who gets the point on this?
Yeah.
I feel like I got us kicked off on a really good direction on that.
Okay. Yeah.
But Whitney did pretty well on that too.
Okay.
And Nick, you were no slouch on that.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to split it 3 ways.
Oh, okay. Between the three of us.
I think I'm going to give myself, Nick, and Whitney each a third of a point.
Oh.
That's fair.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
fair. I'm not going to argue.
Like we're all winners.
That sounds,
kind of
So
that's
Whitney has-
reasonable logic.
So Whitney has 0.8 points right now.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah.
0.8.
0.83
So
points.
close to one full
I think
point.
I'm still at 0. I think
Yeah.
I'm still zeroed
I
out.
think
You
so
are.
too.
All right. Thank you, Tammy. Good luck with this. And jump into the Discord if you're not already with us.
Yeah.
So many people have talked about this over the years, and Discord and Patreon. I am giving this question over to you. I expect that in our channel, you will give us your feedback of how have you dealt with the existential problems of life? How have you dealt with the war of self-esteem? And what tricks have you brought that have worked for you?
And keep your answers to one sentence.
Yeah. Or don't. I don't give a shit. It's Discord. It's the internet. You can fill it up. It's like we're
your
running out of
life.
pages. I don't care. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to answer a question about telling my parents about autism and ADHD. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Jake Schneider, Malia, Richard Macy, Sunny Boy, Thunder Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Slurpee Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Elena, and Sam Cohn. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy.
New York.
Jacob.
Yep.
Here we go.
Jakob.
This is the name of the landscaped section of Central Park that is dedicated to John Lennon,
Oh.
located across the street from where he was shot.
Leningrad.
It's Leningrad.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's it.
Yep. I can't think of it. Give me the options.
Love Lennon Square, Imagine Gardens, Strawberry Fields, or Penny Lane.
Jesus Christ. Those are all
I
really
think it's
good.
Strawberry Fields. I think that's what they call it.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I didn't know the answer to that.
Okay, 1 point for Jacob. Whitney,
Wow, he's good at this.
what New York City street
He's
is
been there.
considered the narrowest? Is considered the narrowest at just over 5 feet wide at one point.
Your mom's asshole.
Oh, 2 points.
I need
Got 'em.
options.
Okay. Mill Street in the financial
Milf
district.
Street? Shut up.
MILF.
Mill.
Yeah, obviously,
Street.
Never
clearly
mind.
MILF Street is
Yeah.
the name
Yes.
of that street,
Let the
Jim.
record
I'm going
show.
with that.
Okay. Mill Street in the financial district. Water Street in the Lower East Side. Washington Street in Greenwich Village. Or Mercer Street in Soho.
Jesus, who fucking knows?
I don't know. The Greenwich
here's-
Village. Oh, okay.
I'll throw you a little
Okay,
hint.
Thank you. Because I'm guessing. Shut it up.
Forget about the street name.
Uh-huh.
Think location.
I
Who the
was.
fuck even knows where any of
all
those
right,
are?
never mind.
Yeah, I was
Well, he
like,
told
I
you
was,
we're
went
all
off
of
Greenwich.
I don't know what those mean.
Soho
It's
or
like you're
Greenwich
naming
Village.
fucking canyons on Mars. I don't know what that is.
Soho seems like people just walk around a lot. Probably small streets.
I don't know. Sounds Chinese to me.
Or Greenwich Village. It's a village. Are villages? Do they have small streets? I have no idea where any of these places.
I mean, a village sounds small.
I know.
I know that's where
I'll
they
go
base all the time zones off of is Greenwich
yes,
Village.
Greenwich
Yeah.
Village. Yeah,
Greenwich Village
I
Mean
knew
Time.
it.
Yeah.
I
Where
think
the
Trump's
prime
going to take
meridian
over.
is. Yeah, that's right.
Greenwich Village Meantime.
That feels right.
I'll just go Soho.
Do it.
No.
Dang
No
it.
ho.
I'm sorry.
Got her. You guys hear what I
Alright.
said?
No.
Yeah.
This is
It is
really
Mill Street or Mill Lane in the financial district.
No, Mill Lane.
Because the history of New York, the financial district is the tip, the very tip of Manhattan, just the tip.
Yeah.
That's where the city
that
started.
That big bowl
So that's
is there.
why, yeah, when you look
did
at
walk by
when
that
you look
thing.
at the map, there's no rhyme or reason behind any of the roads. They're just all over the place until you get to a certain point where it becomes a grid,
Okay.
because that's how the city developed.
Interesting.
So, anyway,
All right.
Jim,
Yeah.
which body of water separates Brooklyn from Staten Island and sees the largest tidal flow in the harbor?
Oh my gosh.
Your mom.
If you don't get this, Timothy.
2 more points.
Oh,
He's killing us today.
Crushing
A
it.
lot of tidal flow.
Yeah.
Every time he says your mom, it's 2 more points.
How does he do it? Just the singers.
The
They fall out of the
timing.
sky. There's a body of water that cuts through New York. Christ.
There's actually
Didn't we just talk
there's a
about
lot
that?
of water that goes through New York.
I
It's a
mean,
wet place.
I'm
An
sure
island.
there's like, I don't know, ponds. Like,
Manhattan Island.
It is an island. Did you know
Long
that?
Staten
Island.
Island.
Yeah.
Did you?
but it's in New York.
Liberty Island.
This is all in the same
Ellis
place?
Island.
Ellis Island.
Wow, a lot of islands.
Okay. Well, Ellis Island's like a rock with the statue on it.
That's
my
not
God.
true
No,
at
it's
all.
not.
That's Liberty Island.
Yeah.
I don't even live there. All right. Say some of the question again.
Okay. Some of the any words
You're gonna have to give me the
separates.
options. Let's go to the options. Let's go to see if I can ring a bell on it.
Jamaica Bay.
That feels right.
The Narrows, the East River, the West River.
Oh, Christ. This is dumb. Those all don't sound like things. Or they sound like ubiquitous things that any fucking place would have.
I don't even remember what the question was.
Something about
body of water that separates Brooklyn from Staten Island.
Brooklyn. Staten Island. I don't even know where those are.
They're
it's not going to help.
Isn't Brooklyn where Captain America's from?
Yes.
Staten
If that
Island's
helps,
where
yes.
Pete Davis is from.
Just say yes, Toby.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Except for the answer. It's
Yeah,
wrong.
and work your way to the answer from those
Jamaica
clues.
River.
Please.
Captain America.
Okay, Captain America. Let's see.
Yeah, no, this is going to help. This is
He
going
was
to help.
born in the late.
There's a
90s.
scene where he jumps into this water.
He does.
There's
Okay.
water in the scene.
All right, I'm going to cross off Jamaica River because I don't think that they're
Jamaica
not
Bay,
gonna
but
fucking
all right.
name that. I've got East, West, and what's the last one?
North,
The
south.
Narrows.
Oh, Jesus Christ. The Narrows is from Zion, so I'm going to cross that out.
Yep, there can't be two.
Let's go with, I don't even know. Is it west of the thing? Brooklyn, West. Give me West River.
No, that's the only body of water that I made up. The rest
Jesus.
of them are
I
real.
was going to say, is it the
Damn
east?
it.
Jamaica Bay is real. The Narrows is the correct answer, and the East River is also real.
Oh, okay.
Wow. So, okay. So it was the Narrows?
The Narrows.
Great.
Yep.
Fuck you, New York.
Yeah, this is New York's
That's the
fault.
new shirt.
Even
Instead of
less
I Heart New
inclined.
York, Jim,
Yeah,
fuck you,
Fuck you, New York.
Yeah, it's
You know what you did.
F you.
Definitely not
In
Jim's
life.
Your
education.
bodies of water. You give a shit.
What water?
Never going there. Telling my parents about autism and ADHD. I've been struggling with my coursework load at university, so they assigned me a study skills mentor. Within 20 minutes of talking, she asked if I was diagnosed with anything. This led to a non-diagnostic screening profile through the university, which strongly suggested I may be neurodivergent, with indicators of autism, ADHD, and dyspraxia. Honestly, it was like my anxiety disappeared. I suddenly understood why my brain works the way it does and why I've struggled for so long. I was also really angry that no one in my childhood or any of the multiple GPs or therapists I've seen as an adult have suggested neurodivergence as a possibility. My current GP spoke to me every 2 to 8 weeks for over 2 years while I was on and off sertraline and citalopram. When I called her about getting a referral for a formal ADHD or autism diagnosis, she said yes straight away and said she had wondered about autism during our previous conversations. Infuriating. I've now been referred to a psychiatry provider for ADHD and autism assessment. For reference, I'm in the UK and have been referred via the Right to Choose pathway to a private provider, as the National Health Service waiting list for adult ADHD is around 7 years in my area. Fuck. The NHS pays for this alternative approach, and it brings the wait time down to 12 to 18 months. I now need to fill in some pre-assessment forms, including an ADHD informant report to be completed by someone who knew me before 12 years old, and an autism self-report, which asks several questions about what I was like as a baby. I'm looking into alternative ways of providing information, but it has raised this issue that I may need to tell my parents about all this. I was the, quote, good child who excelled in school, the first in my family to attend university, and have done quite well in my career so far. My younger brother struggled in school and was seen as the one with issues, though he was not diagnosed with anything as far as I'm aware. Honestly, even though my parents are aware that I've dealt with anxiety and depression, been on medication, and seen several therapists, I'm not sure they would take autism and ADHD seriously. From things they've said before, they seem to think autism means being a little odd at work, struggling socially, or needing a lot of additional support to live independently. My partner has ADHD, and my parents don't seem to acknowledge it. They respond with an, oh, okay, when it comes up. Still, they live only half an hour away, and we text weekly. I see them about once a month, and they often help take care of our dog. So I feel like I have to tell them eventually. It will likely come out through me, my partner, or another family member. So, do I tell my parents now and ask them to help complete the assessment forms? Do I wait and see whether it's a positive diagnosis? Either way, how do I bring it up? And where do I start with explaining late diagnosis and high masking? I guess I also need to prepare myself to temper my frustration that it has taken until my 30s to get to the assessment stage, and that discussing it with my parents may only get a lukewarm or negative response. I'm currently seeing a lovely and helpful IFS therapist. I will mention this issue to her too, but it would be great to get another perspective. Thanks for everything you guys do. Hannah Marie, pronouns are she and her.
Hannah Marie.
Hannah Marinky Dinky Dink.
First of all, I actually love that you felt relief hearing somebody sort of validate or put a name to these symptoms that maybe for a long time made you feel like something's just wrong with you because you can't be like other people around you, but it kind of helps just explain and know what you're dealing with. And now you're able to kind of take some steps toward how to manage that and get diagnosis and get help. So
it can be really relieving.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry that other clinicians met with you. That is so hard. And I definitely don't want to jump to defending clinicians. It's complicated and we're always looking at, and you mentioned like your GP, like your general doctor. And I feel like, I don't know how it is across the pond, but it just sort of, our general practitioners here, they might ask a few questions. They're not really honed in on like what's going on with you. But you do see them a lot.
The only time GPs have ever asked me anything like that is if they're putting me on some kind of medication that has like a possible side effect of like depression or something like that.
Right.
That's a good point.
And then like a follow-up visit, they'll ask a couple of questions about that. But that's the only time I can recall a GP ever asking me anything like that.
Kind of get you in and out.
Pretty far. Like a lot of them don't feel comfortable talking about mental health in general.
Yeah.
And then ADHD and autism feels way more specialized and in the weeds.
Yeah.
And like if they're working with children, a lot of times that comes up more naturally. And so I think they're usually feeling a little bit more
and parents will ask, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. And they'll get some notes. But like a lot of times they just sort of steer away from this. And again, therapists too can be guilty. Well, I don't want to use the word guilty, but healthcare providers in general are going to address a presenting concern, not try to go on a scavenger hunt to try to find a greater, bigger explanation.
Which is what I thought about when you mentioned the one physician who said, I did think about this.
I've wondered it
before. Like, but they're not necessarily going to be worried about something that you aren't already necessarily worried about.
Well, you're high functioning, right? And like that's where a lot of the stuff doesn't get noticed. And the writer says, look, I was the golden child. I got everything done. I've always excelled. I've always, and like we talked about earlier in the show, ADHD is usually a diagnosis based on the way that you're disrupting the world around you. And if you look at the actual criteria of how we diagnose ADHD, almost all of it is external facing. Yeah. Whereas anxiety, we do not diagnose anxiety based on how you perform at work or how well you're doing at school. We're interested if anxiety is disrupting other things, but your inward suffering experience is sufficient to tell us that you have a disorder, right?
Yeah.
Depression, almost any other characteristic you can have that's in the DSM is all going to be an internal barometer. But ADHD is fundamentally an outward-facing way that we describe it.
Yeah.
And so like the writer drops a few phrases in here that the general audience might not be aware of, like words like masking, right? And so like masking is this term to say, hey, look, I probably do have a neurodivergent brain. I probably do have a brain that's more ADHD aligned or autistically aligned, but I knew how to pretend well. And so because I had an adaptive skill and I learned how to fit in or get by without causing any disruptions, that made everybody miss my diagnosis. And this is going back to what I had said earlier about like female autism, especially in female ADHD, being very different because we're all expecting you to be the bazinga guy and like these clear, like blinking red lights of social awkwardness or like being aloof or things like that. And like, no, you can still be somebody who passes all the social tests, does fine, fits into this environment, and yet is that kind of brain.
Right.
And then it's not until much later, writer, that this is whenever the world starts to like get a little bit more nuanced. And then we do start to notice some factors that kind of align with the definition. And then you get deeper into it and you realize, oh, wow, I relate to a lot of this. Yeah. So I guess I just want to bring some grace. I know it's still frustrating. You're allowed to be frustrated.
Yeah.
But I want to agree that I understand why, as a provider myself, I'm often not going on this hunt to figure out what is the deeper explanatory diagnosis. I'm usually trying to solve what the presenting problem is. Mm-hmm. And if you're going into your doctor and saying, I have anxiety, they're saying, okay, great, let's get you this medicine. I have depression. Great, we're going to get you citalopram. Like, it just seems like that's probably more relevant.
Right.
Now, my last note on this is coming down to this word about like the point of assessment and diagnosis. As you may have heard, Ryder, I did a 6-hour deep dive on ADHD. It's in our archives, patreon.com/therapy. Yeah, hit play. So you can go check all that out if you feel like it.
I've got it right here.
There you go. It's just this on loop.
He did a music bed intro.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's
like the training videos.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm just jumping back and forth.
So you want to hear about ADHD.
My name is Jim Jobin.
Yes.
Do you believe that you...
Listen to this on 1.5 speed.
Or anyone that you know may potentially
possibly
have or suffer from the effects or side
reminds me of that
effects.
sloth from Zootopia.
Yes!
So, Ryder, like a lot of times...
That's me, Jim Jobin.
There it is. We get way too interested in the validation power of getting the assessment and the diagnosis done. And so, like, I want to speak carefully on this because on one hand, there is value to interacting with the symptom lists, getting that feedback, doing maybe some like
Did you
objective...
say symptom list?
Yeah, there's like checklists. So like I'm good
I
with
heard
that.
symptom list.
I said syphilis.
It was very
Yeah.
Did you guys hear syphilis?
Yeah.
So like there's value to the assessments, but where I think a lot of people go wrong is they put way too much value in this because they feel like this is going to validate their existence. Like they're going to learn something deep about themselves, like Luke, you were a Jedi the whole time. Like it's something about me was different. I'm from another, place. I am one of these types of people. And now I finally understand the meaning of life and why I am the way I am. And that can be way too sensitive to hold on to because as you're already feeling, then there's the sense of anybody who invalidates this, anybody who challenges this, anybody who doesn't immediately accept this, it's like me telling them I'm gay. And them saying, are you though? I remember you had a girlfriend in third grade. It's like, fuck you. Like, how dare you? And it's like, whoa, dial it down. Like, especially with this stuff that like looks for external check-ins. Because again, these are usually, autism less so, but ADHD is an external facing diagnosis, right? So like even the assessment measures are saying, what do other people think? And that's going to be problematic when you're like, well, they clearly didn't think enough to get me tested when I was younger. So I'm probably not going to like get scores on these external measures that come back to reinforce this diagnosis, right? And then there could be a lot of fear of like, well, then I don't want to do it. Like I want to go do it objectively. I want to find out if this is who I really am. And then I want to present my truth to the world and ask people to renew their understanding of who I am in the face of this important diagnosis. But all of that is to come back to this, the importance of the diagnosis itself. It is being misrepresented in the world as a type of person. And this is part of that 6-hour deep dive, which is not 6 fucking hours straightforward. It's a bunch of episodes, okay? It's just a 6-hour series.
Whatever you say.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
The
Welcome,
there it is.
everyone,
Part 2.
to chapter
35 in our 70s.
Or as our friends south of the border say, dose.
Yeah. So this is broken up into pieces, but one of the things that we talk about in that deep dive is how the popular parlance today has been to make this an identity, a way of being. It's like discovering that you are gay, and it's not that. Like even the phrase neurodivergent is a new thing made up by a person that wrote a book once and was just like a naturalist biographer or something like that, not even an expert in the field. And it just became a popular way to point to a variety of things that just seemed different about people. It wasn't even talking about ADHD or autism at the time. So like we have definitely made this much bigger than it is. The labels in mental health, the diagnoses that we use are different than the diagnostics of other healthcare professions. I have a disease in my stomach called diverticulitis. That is a disease. That is a diagnosis that I have. That explains a lot of the life experiences, the pain, the discomfort that I live with as a human, but my diagnosis explains that. In mental health, it goes the exact opposite way. We take constellations of symptoms, qualities that we've discovered in the person, we bundle those, and then we name that. So an anxiety disorder, panic disorder, OCD, these are phrases we came up with to describe clusters of symptoms that appear in a person. Yep. And we did that to expedite our ability to talk about it and then to codify the treatments that we approach it with. But even with neurodivergent problems or neurodevelopmental problems, we have to be careful that they are not designed to be explanatory in nature. And this is where I think autism and ADHD have tried to take on way too much explanatory force. And I say all that, Ryder, to just right size what this assessment is going to mean for you. I think it's valuable. I think you should pursue it. But I also don't want this to carry so much weight in your mind that you're like, I am about to open up the chamber of secrets and discover who I really am. I think the number one takeaway people have when they take the assessment is disappointment. They're like, wow, I waited years for this, and the test seemed pretty subjective. Like I just basically just said things like, do you have ADHD? Like the questions were that fucking straightforward. Yeah. And this is one of the reasons why even the assessment measures are very hard for us to take seriously in the field, because people that often take these tests want to be diagnosed with this because it would be explanatory in their life. And they've, looked up the symptoms. None of our questions surprise them. None of them are that tricky. And they just answer them based on what they're feeling at the time. And we know that there's like a little bit of a guiding effect that invalidates some of the objectiveness of the test. So all of that is just to come back to the central point. Hold this loosely. Yes, it's important to see this about yourself. Knowing this about yourself is a useful thing. I would argue you don't need this 18-month away assessment to determine whether you have ADHD and autism. In my opinion, if you read the symptom lists and you relate to those, to me, that's sufficient. I look at that and go, great, then let's identify you as somebody with ADHD or autism. I've had so many people over the years come to my office and they're like, hey, do you think I have ADHD? I'm like, great, tell me why you think that. Mm-hmm. They'll tell me it and I go, yeah, that sounds a lot like ADHD. Mm-hmm. So do you want to proceed as if that's true and let's start working on what we can work on? And they're like, no, I want to know.
Yeah.
Because it's not like cancer.
Right.
It's not like we have to get the exact right chemotherapy pointed at you and everything. Like, we're going to do a lot of the same things, right? Like, Like, if you're feeling this way or if you have ADHD, like, if those two things are both true, then we're
at the end of the day,
you're going to treat it about the same,
our approach
right?
is the same.
Yeah.
And people treat it sometimes like it's a 23andMe. Like, they're coming in like, I need to know who I really am. Like, do I not like rice because this is my genetic code? Or am I lactose intolerant? And it's like, look, you're lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
Let's now deal with the fact that you don't sit well with milk.
Maybe reduce dairy.
I don't know what your
milk,
genetic code is.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Let's talk about how we're going to live in a world in which that doesn't sit well with you. So, Ryder, at the end of the day, for me, I just want to give you that permission that if you look at these symptoms and you say, boy, this sure feels true, and you're not necessarily petitioning for some kind of government support or some kind of special permissions at work or anything that's like going to be enabling in your life, yeah, go do the assessment, but you can go ahead and start living as if this is true now, and you don't have to wait for like some judgment day. I think you're going to be disappointed when you finally take the assessment.
How important are the parents' feedback? Because
I
think that's kind of the big thing, with what the writer's asking is like, do I bring this up with them? Is it even worth the fight?
I was just about to turn back to that. Yeah.
And here's the thing. When it comes to just the relationship between you and your parents, I trust your judgment, Hannah. Yeah. I don't know your parents. You do.
You know Hannah's parents?
I know Hannah's
they
parents.
They are lovely.
They're really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, 1 out of the 4 people in this room do not know your parents.
Well, maybe if you answered your phone every once in a while, they call.
I trust your judgment. Now, how valuable is this input from the parents? It's valuable. I think it's good, but if there was a way that you're able to just say, hey, I have to be assessed by my doctor and there's some questions that may be helpful in helping them identify what's going on and giving them very minimal information.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They have these questions. Can I read through them? What do you think?
Yeah. Can I just get your input on these? I don't need to tell you what it's about.
Exactly.
And I was going to say, too, like, you can just tell your parents, like, hey, I'm working on something with my doctor here, and there's some questions about my childhood.
I don't know the answer.
I don't know the answer to these. Can you help me out?
And it's just like, I'm working on this. Can you help me?
Yes. I like that approach.
I like even just saying doctor, it doesn't have to be like mental health.
Give them details.
Yep.
But the suggestion you're all making there, I agree with it. it also, I think, underlines this point that it's not a coming out party.
Yeah.
You're not going to visit with your family and sit them down and say,
Right.
there's something you need to know about me. I've discovered my inner truth. Like, it's not like you're announcing that you're gay. It's really not that. And so we have to be careful, because I think writers also saying, like, I'm scared they're not going to get it. They're not going to see how transformative, how big this is. And it's like, it's not for them.
Yeah, they're not going to.
Nobody has to. It's for you.
I would change that expectation.
Yes.
I think that's probably your best.
Also, the older you get, the more you're going to discover things that are transformative to you don't matter to other people.
That's true.
This is a fine time to kind of start getting on that train. Like,
and it's still transformative.
Things that really matter a lot in your life don't have to mean anything to anyone else.
So have y'all ever had a friend who's like, oh my gosh, I read this book. You have to read this book or whatever. Yeah, we've all had that. I say book, but it can be watch this.
Green Eggs and Ham, check it out. The ending will blow your mind.
Dad advice.
I feel like that's a good example of like what Jacob's saying, where for that person that's recommending it, that was a huge impactful moment. Like the space they were in when they read that book, great. But for you could read it and you're like,
maybe Tony Robbins isn't for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, like this epiphany mentality. Yeah. Like it all made sense. And for the writer, Henry-Marie's like, no, this was huge for me.
Yeah.
To just do a precursory, like, assessment and realize, oh my God, like this explains so much.
Yeah.
It's like, great. Awesome. Like if I'm your therapist in that scenario, I'm like, wonderful.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Let's use this. And you and I are now going to explore what this epiphany means in your life and how many ways it applies and how we can start trying to use different interventions to change it. Great. But it isn't going to be something where, by the way, there's a hilarious TikTok. My wife showed me this. This guy had a autism reveal party where he went and got assessed, and he had all of his friends come over for the autism reveal party, and he had them all dress like him, and then bet with their dress whether he would come out as autistic or not. And it is a really funny fucking video.
Okay,
because it's like got like how people do like the reveal where it's like there's a color in the cake or something like that. And so he did a thing where it's like he has a balloon. And like inside the balloon is the answer, the assessment. And so like everybody's there and they're all rooting for him. He pops the balloon, and then it actually turns out to be a puzzle that he had the assessor make for him. And it's like a 300-piece puzzle. And so he's like, so I decided I want to do this puzzle. But then I felt a little overstimulated, so I took the puzzle in my room and left all my friends out there, and I did it by myself. It's just
pretty
really
solid.
funny. Yeah,
solid.
The bit goes on, but it's really, really funny.
Wow.
So. But yeah, just appreciating, writer, that if you relate to it, if the diagnosis makes sense to you, to me, that has always been enough.
Yes.
Like the long drawn out, let's go find the specialist and do it is not as revealing as people believe. It's not this epiphany like, oh my God, I'm 10% Neanderthal. It explains so much. Like it'll never be that for you, and other people will not resonate with it, and it's not gonna be this lights on moment where they go, it all makes sense now. In fourth grade you did this. Like, you could explain to them over time, my doctors and I think I probably have ADHD or, somewhere on the spectrum of autism. And then you can psychoeducate your parents a little bit over the years.
Sure.
Yeah.
But what that usually means and how that appears in your life.
Yeah.
And hopefully they take a curious approach. They don't dispute it. And then from time to time, they might be like, oh, yeah, you were kind of like that as a kid.
Yeah.
And like, that's about as much validation as I think you should expect.
Yeah. I think it's hard when you're close with your family too. She says she sees them really often, and it's kind of like a connecting thing. You want to feel seen and heard.
Right.
So that makes it really tough. I hear you.
I'm a big fan of telling people before you reveal something like that. I had a family member years ago come out to me, and like that was important, and like, but I did not know what they needed from me, and I accidentally stepped on the wrong thing.
Okay.
Because I thought I should go with, okay, thank you for sharing this with me. I accept this. This is, I love you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you were fearing my reaction, but like, this is lovely. And I'm flattered and honored that you shared it.
But what they really wanted was you to stop using homophobic slurs.
Right.
Right.
I dropped a few F-bombs in there.
People never stop.
Right. Yeah. And I was like, I don't understand why are you crying? Like, I don't understand what's going on. No. And like, it was an unfortunate situation where they were like, I am devastated that you are not celebrating this and validating it and saying that you knew all along. And to me, that feels like rejection. And I was like, I was going with like even-handed,
Just
like subdued reaction. Don't make any sudden movements.
Like
I totally am cool with this. I accept it. Was that what you needed from me today?
So they wanted you to treat them coming out the same way that you want them to celebrate your birthday.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A
This makes a lot of
month-long
sense.
extravaganza. Just dudes in go pants.
He just said, what
I'm
birthday?
Just, everything.
Yeah.
I want all the things. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. If it's not Mardi Gras, it wasn't enough. But yeah, so like I would have done a lot better if that person would have come to me and said, so listen, I have something important I want to tell you. And I think I am hoping that this is something that you find exciting and good, and that that this invigorates you, and that I wonder if it's even something that you've seen in me before. And
That is
okay, great.
That is the talk that I want from each and every person that is telling me that they are pregnant as well.
Yes.
I want the exact same
Especially
talk.
if you're
Tell
the
me what
dad.
you're looking for here.
Like, that is a tough one to read.
I'm just
sometimes,
like, you got to tell me if you want me to be happy or supportive.
Yeah.
At our age,
Planned, not planned.
That's it.
Great.
you're pregnant.
Are you on your way to the abortion clinic?
Right.
And you're just like, you want to ride? Were you
ride?
telling
What
me
do
to
you
get a
do?
ride?
Yeah.
Which doctor are we going
Chris
to?
Rock's joke on that. He's like, if she says that she's pregnant, you got to say, "Oh, this is wonderful. I'm so happy." And
Yeah.
it's like, and if you're not comfortable saying that, the only other thing you can say is, "So what you gonna do?"
So what's up now?
You got two moves.
Yeah.
Throw confetti in the air. What now? Yeah. So, writer, temper what you're looking for. Make sure that you understand that you get to decide whether this is true for you. The assessment probably doesn't matter as much. That external validation probably won't matter as much. And then also right-sizing the expectation of what you're hoping other people will say in reaction to this, and not being afraid to telegraph to them, look, this is an epiphany for me. Here's my reactions to this thing I'm about to share with you. It felt relieving. It felt confirming. It felt validating. It's been very useful to think differently about my life and myself and my future since I've discovered this, and I think it's a great thing. That would help, because if my child came to me and said, I've been diagnosed with a mental illness, my first move is, oh my God, are you okay? I'm so sorry to hear that. No, maybe it's not true.
Great thing in relief they're not the first thing to pop into your head.
Right. I'm trying. Yeah, exactly. So like most parent responses are going to be like trying to comfort you. And secretly you're like, no, I was hoping you'd validate this. And it's like, okay. So yeah, telegraph that ahead of time. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are wrapping up the show. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Jake Schneider, Malia, Richard Macy, Sunny Boy, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Slurpikaye, Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Elena, and Sam Cohn. If you would like to become a therapy producer, head on over to patreon.com/therapy and sign up today. I've got more trivia if you want to hear.
Let's do it. Let's
What country is Old York in?
Ooh. It's a pudding place.
All right,
It is.
Jacob.
Puddin'.
Van Gogh's Starry Night
Uh-huh.
is on display in which New York City attraction?
The Subway.
Oh, I believe it is a Subway sandwich shop.
Yeah.
Just off of
We'll have the cold
Not
cut
the
combo
Subway.
and whatever that screaming boy is having.
It's either that or Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
I think it's one of two
Met.
places. I think it's either the Met or MoMA.
Oh.
I think it might be MoMA, though. I'm going to go MoMA.
2 points.
Wow.
What
Jacob
Metropolitan
knows New
Museum of
York.
Modern Art?
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
what is mama?
Okay.
Very cultured over here.
Jeez, that's exciting.
Whitney, which iconic New York City bridge was the longest suspension bridge in the world when it opened in 1883?
Oh my
The
God.
Brooklyn Bridge.
2 points.
Yes!
Honestly, with all my heart, I thought London Bridge.
Oh, no, that one's falling down.
Yeah.
It burned.
I
You
remember
thought
it was
London
like,
Bridge
I've-
in New York?
Well, it's the only
And
song
isn't
I
that
know
in
with a
Havasu?
bridge. Yeah, now it's a
Yeah.
I think the original London
Over
Bridge
the
is in
And I've
Narrows.
Havasu.
actually
Lake
been
Over
to
the
it.
Narrows.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I got
All right.
this. Come on, Jim.
What is the only U.S. president buried in New York City?
Oh my God.
Oh, I am going to hate
Lyndon
the
B.
answer to this
Johnson.
question.
Oh my God.
Because it's a
George
trick. It's a
Washington.
trick question.
Oh.
It is?
It is. But I'll tell you why in a second.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's not in the city limits, probably.
It is.
Fuck.
Only part of him is buried.
1 foot.
Just
he
the
was
waist
dismembered.
down.
I saw. I'm trying to think back
Yeah,
to
he's
that
half
Nick Cage
Italian.
movie.
That's the half we buried.
The North and South were fighting over.
That's right. He's torn asunder.
I think that was a hint.
So they went to the king, and then
I think Nick just gave you a hint, Jim.
Yeah, I
Might
think
have.
so too.
Oh boy, buried in New York. Jeez, man. I mean, there's so many people that came from New York. You'd think they'd want to be buried there. Because I think like Teddy Roosevelt was like, I don't know, the fucking mayor or something like that And John F. Kennedy's from New York. That seems relevant.
No.
FDR.
Isn't he from Connecticut?
Yeah, Connecticut.
Yeah, he had that New York accent.
No, that was Massachusetts.
It was like, hey, I'm walking here, going to the moon.
I'm John fucking Kennedy.
By the end of the fucking decade.
Welcome to Camelot. I'm walking here.
I'm walking here. All right. All right, give me options. I'm going to need this one.
Ulysses S. Grant, William Taft, Franklin D. Roosevelt, or Andrew Johnson.
Dude, I don't know.
Johnson.
The Johnson.
I mean, I'm stuck between Ulysses
Andrew
Grant
Big Johnson
and
Andrew B. Johnsonin.
Give me Ulysses S. Grant.
1 point.
Yes.
Very good.
Trick question.
Why?
He's not buried.
Oh, he's still alive.
It's a tomb.
Oh,
It's an above-ground tomb. He is entombed in New York. He is
Where?
not buried in New York.
Where is he entombed?
Grant's tomb.
That's a good
Which
spot
is
for it.
located at what
Oh,
crossroads?
I couldn't tell. It's been a long time since I visited Grant's tomb on a school field trip in
my
8th grade.
I got
That's
3 more.
amazing.
You want to go, or should we do it at the end of the show?
End of show.
End of
This
show.
the end of the
Let's
show?
do it.
Post show.
This is post show.
Oh,
I was like, I thought that's where we were.
You can support our show at patreon.com/therapy. As a reward, you will get the extended show ad-free a day earlier. You'll also get access to our deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants, and our live chat Discord community. Who is our newest person who's signed up at patreon.com/therapy?
New Therapod, Katie Chiwakowski.
Nailed it. I have no
100%.
notes.
Grant's tomb, Riverside Park,
Wow.
Upper West Side.
Oh.
There you go.
I thought it was on the Upper East
Y'all are
Side.
adorable.
Yeah.
Like Serena Vanderwoodson. Okay, go on.
We'd like to thank the benevolent, revered, generous, and flagrantly pro-therapy diehards who love you all so much they give till it hurts, the Thera partners, Dirty B and Pickett. And we want to especially thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the Thera producers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Myra, Robert Brownie, Junior Mint, Smitty Scoop, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Malia, Leon Kassab, Mason Miller, Richard fucking Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley slapping your face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, Mike Helm, Paris, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, Slurpy Kai Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, Hannah Marie, Andrew Langmead, Emma Kane, Alina, Cody the Lorian Guy, Sam Cohn, Brady Malachek, and Gabriel Adame.
If you would like to do this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy, and thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time we got for this week's session. I want to thank our landlords, Matt and Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. And remember, pod therapy is something you shouldn't keep all to yourself. Share this episode with the world. You can tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter, /PodTherapy on Facebook and Blue Sky. And don't forget about all the extra goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? You can ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com or click the link in the episode description to be taken to our anonymous Google form. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Whitney.
I'm Jim.
And I'm Jim. Thanks,
Oh, no.
and we'll see you for your appointments next week.
I'm Jim.
Copyright infringement.
Jimmy boy.
All right, Jacob.
Hit me.
New York.
Oh, here's a picture of the sarcophagi in Grant's tomb, by the way.
That's just a dead guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so Grant and his wife are both entombed in Grant's tomb.
Aw.
So it's
the
like the
wife made
pharaohs,
it.
huh? When he died, they just threw her in
Yeah,
there with
they're
him.
in like a Well, no, it's two different ones.
I'll bet you there's claw
Jacob
marks
probably
on the
had to
inside
see
of
that on
tomb.
his trip since all the Louisiana tombs are above ground. They're
That's
like,
just true.
Let's just look at that one too.
Yeah.
This looks familiar.
Which New York City hotel was the first to offer room service?
Oh. I don't know. Options.
The Plaza?
Put your hand down, Whitney.
The Wall